companies. Jim, first to you. What's really going on here? Why is the president doing this?
Well, obviously, the president is trying to change the subject right now. It took him more than 12 hours to tweet about the 100,000 deaths from the coronavirus here in the U.S. And so clearly the president is trying to change the topic, change the conversation in this country. He did just tell reporters in the last several minutes that he'll be holding a news conference here in the next hour or so to talk about this executive order that he is expected to sign.
In those moments, Twitter ceases to be a neutral public platform and they become an editor with a viewpoint. And I think we can say that about others also, whether you're looking at Google, whether you're looking at Facebook, and perhaps others. Finally, I'm directing my administration to develop policies and procedures to ensure taxpayer dollars are not going in any social media company that repress free speech. The government spends billions of dollars on giving them money. They're rich enough. So we're going to be doing none of it or very little of it.
About this executive order that he is expected to sign to go after social media companies. It's essentially designed to rattle their cages. There's not a whole lot legally that he can do to these private companies. And it does raise the question, why is the president going after his favorite website, which is Twitter, of course? I asked the White House press secretary during the briefing just a short while ago, Kayleigh, why the president is doing this.
Shouldn't the president be fact-checked, especially this president who has made so many false and misleading statements that it has put, fact checkers to work across the world? I mean, he's uttered some 18,000 false and misleading statements, according to the Washington Post. If there's any president out there who should be fact-checked, any political leader out there should be fact-checked, isn't it President Trump? And aren't you trying to silence fact-checking by going after Twitter like this?
Look, well, first I would say I disagree with all, if not almost all, of those assertions that you're making there, because look, if you're going to get into the fact-checking business, there's no one that should be fact-checked more than the mainstream media.
You have pledged in this briefing room to never lie to the American people. Are you saying that the President of the United States has never lied to the public before?
I'm around the president. His intent is always to give truthful information to the American people.
That was a whopper of her own, I suppose you might say, when it comes to the White House press secretary. But Brooke, what this all boils down to is that the president is trying to silence fact-checking. He doesn't want the people at various news organizations or even social media platforms to stamp what he says as false when he says false things.
Jim, that's a very nice tie, Jim, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Oh, the ratings are up. It means you can't do without Donald Trump. You would be lost without Donald Trump. CNN's ratings would be in the toilet without Donald Trump.
That is correct.
Yes.
Yesterday, the U.S. hit 100,000 deaths from the coronavirus. That happened at around 6 o'clock yesterday evening. It took until about 9 in the morning for the president to recognize that on Twitter. What took him so long?
Look, the president recognized that landmark before we even hit it. The president, that was, after all, it was the impetus behind him lowering the flag to half staff. He did that for several days. And that was an acknowledgement of that number approaching, and he acknowledged it in a tweet this morning.
And on Twitter, shouldn't the president be fact-checked, especially this president who has made so many false and misleading statements that it has put, fact checkers to work across the world? I mean, he's uttered some 18,000 false or misleading statements, according to the Washington Post. If there's any president out there who should be fact-checked, any political leader out there should be fact-checked, isn't it President Trump? And aren't you trying to silence fact-checking by going after Twitter like this?
Look, well, first I would say I disagree with all, if not almost all, of those assertions that you're making there, because look, if you're going to get into the fact-checking business, there's no one that should be fact-checked more than the mainstream media that has been continually wrong about a number of things. To give you a list of some of the most egregious ones, that ABC News in December of 2017 falsely reported that Flynn would testify that the president directed him during the campaign to make contact with the Russians.
Michael Flynn promised full cooperation to the Mueller team and is prepared to testify that as a candidate, Donald Trump directed him to make contact with the Russians. Yeah!
That was false. In 2017, your network, CNN, botched their WikiLeaks email exclusive and were forced to make on-air corrections.
3 CNN journalists have resigned because of their involvement in a story about a supposed investigation into a meeting between one of Trump's associates and the head of a Russian investment fund. CNN had to retract the story, and it's making everyone wonder, What other stories done by CNN are fake?
CNN's Jim Sciutto, another CNN one, dropped a fictional bombshell in 2018, July, claiming that Michael Cohen would tell federal investigators that the president knew of the Trump Tower meeting.
Is CNN breaking news.
For those of you who have not paid much attention to the Russia investigation, today would be a good day to start doing so.
Indeed.
Sources tell CNN that President Trump's longtime former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, has begun spilling the beans.
Now, if this is true, it means the president lied about it publicly. President Trump and his team have denied he had contemporaneous knowledge of the Trump Tower meeting on more than 15 occasions. This is a major development.
And there are many more, not to just put the onus on CNN there. So if anyone needs to be fact-checked, I think it should be the media.
There are news outlets that make mistakes from time to time. We own up to those mistakes. We correct those mistakes.
Not always. I have many you guys haven't owned up to, I could get to.
We do on a regular basis. The president never owns up to any of his false or misleading statements or outright lies. You have pledged in this briefing room to never lie to the American people. Are you saying that the president of the United States has never lied to the public before?
I'm around the president. His intent is always to give truthful information to the American people. And you mentioned that the media apologizes for their mistruths. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at other headlines in the New York Times saying there aren't enough ventilators to cope with the coronavirus. In fact, we had an excess of ventilators we've shipped around the world. Washington Post, U.S. health system is showing why it's not ready for a coronavirus pandemic. We were ready. There's many more I could get to. I could, on the coronavirus specifically, I could spend the time going through these, but I don't think that's what the American people want to hear.